to be a better quarterback than what he's been even in the past. I agree. A lot of people will say he's a garbage time stats getter quarterback. But there are a lot of things that we have seen that are really, really impressive about Dak Prescott. And with all the criticisms that have been lobbed his way, I do believe that with the maturity of Ezekiel Elliott, seemingly the maturity that he's showing in this approach to this year's training camp, is an exciting thing for this team, because to have a running back, which is an obsolete position at this point in time, to have a guy, an elite guy at that position come in focused and ready to go with the right mindset is a big deal. To have a receiving core where CeeDee Lamb is now going into his second season, there's going to be a level of confidence and maturity there where he's going to achieve at a higher level. Gallup he's been like the Alvin Harper of this receiving group. He's not the Michael Irving, but he's going to give you some really big plays. I look for CeeDee Lamb to possibly emerge into being the guy for this receiving core this season. If you get Tony Pollard, contribute in a way he does. Blake Jarwin at that tight ends position, a 6'5", 260-pound tight end who can run and can catch. There are a lot of weapons out there for Dak Prescott, so it now ultimately comes down to where is your offensive line going to draw the line in the sand? Are they going to be some bad boys that handle thing in a retro type of way like they did when they were good with Emmett and the Big Three and Troy Aikman and Novacek and Irving? Or are they going to be this new age style of guys that's more finesse, and we'll see what happens and take risk and hope that Dak can stay healthy? Open up holes for Zeke and Tony to run through. Keep Dak upright and safe and being able to deliver balls. This should be an elite offense.
I have a question for you, LeVar. Why did you chasten me yesterday for saying that the Cowboys were going to win the division and they should be thinking about winning the division and winning a game in the playoffs? Because today you have come on here and said they're going to have an elite offense,
yes,
and their defense is going to be the 85 Bears.
I can predict.
So what was wrong with my prediction?
That's so funny. All right, so here.
I mean, you on a J-Mac, was he not praising that defense?
Sard has a decent point. He hasn't made many today, but he's got a good one here, LeVar.
All right, allow me to explain. Allow me to reintroduce myself. So the thing about what you were saying yesterday,
your points.
I do believe that they have to prove that they can be all of these things. I can say that they're going to have the best rookie defensive player on their side of the ball. I can say that they're going to have one of the best defenses if these things come together. It looks good on paper. It looks good in theory, and it sounds good what I'm hearing. On the offensive side of the ball, I can look at it and say, this is what I'm thinking could take place. The problem I've had with the Dallas Cowboys in terms of making bold predictions with them is they never really live up to them in recent history. So as good as it sounds for me to say what I think and believe they can be, it ultimately comes down to when I go down to, if you're holding my feet to the fire and you're saying make a bold prediction, they have to prove it to me before I start making bold predictions in terms of what their accomplishments are going to be. They can have an elite offense and not be the division champions. Honestly, they can get a ton of stats, but not be an elite team. Those things can happen. You can have a good defense. I know firsthand you can have a good defense, but have a failing team. So there are a lot of elements that can play out in favor of the Cowboys without them having a successful season. I have to wait and see on results, on the results of where they end up winning a Super Bowl or getting to the Super Bowl or winning divisional round games in the playoffs. We got to get there first. They haven't done enough for me to sign off on that yet, Chris.
All right, well, here we go. I'll answer the question. Do I think they're going to be an elite offense? I'm going to say pretty good to very good. Somewhere in there. Because elite, when I think of elite offense, I'm thinking of Tampa Bay, Kansas City, and Green Bay. And I don't think they'll be as good as any of those teams. But I do think they can be a good offense. I really am a Dak fan. I have gone to the wall fighting for Dak. I love his intangibles. I think he's a winner. I think he's tough physically and mentally. He obviously can make things happen with his legs. He's become a very good passer over the last few seasons. But you talking about prove it to me, LeVar. Look, people that are thinking, I hope they don't think he's going to be anywhere near the 371 yards he averaged last year. I don't know, that's crazy, right? But is he going to be 330? Is he going to be up there in the top 4 or 5 passers in the league? I'm not ready to go there because the truth is those numbers were inflated because of the Cowboys being behind in games. Let me look at a few of them. He only played 5 games, right? Game number 2, he throws for 502 yards against Cleveland. They were down 41-14 before he got rocking and rolling with all those yards. Seattle, they're down 30-15 in the third quarter. He throws for 472. A lot of it playing catch-up.
He brought him back in that game, though.
He brought him back. I get it, because Atlanta is my next one. 450 yards. They're down 20-0, 29-10.
He brought him back.
You know this, LeVar. A lot of that. Well, some of that was going prevent, right? Some of that's natural human nature. We got this game won, and he was able to come back. Yes, it does speak to something that you were able to rally your team, even though they still lost most of those games. But the teams, he didn't do damage against the Rams. They scored 17 points. He threw for less than 260 yards. All right, so I do want to see him do this stuff in the first half against the better teams. They got a favorable schedule, so that helps. But do some of this stuff in the first and second quarters and don't get behind and then play catch-up. That's what I want to see Dak do.
So I can't believe this. You guys both said a lot of smart stuff. You went for about 7 minutes saying really intelligent, next-level stuff.
Here we go.
And neither of you mentioned the #1 impact to this elite offense, the offensive line. They can't do anything if this offensive line is as banged up as it was last year or the year before. I mean, La'el Collins, okay, great tackle. Tyron Smith, great tackle. They played 2 games last year, guys. This offensive line can't protect Dak. They can't do anything. Dak's not going to have time. You know, they gave up 24 sacks last year on blown blocks. An incredible stat, led the league. If they can't protect the quarterback, I don't care who you're throwing to. I don't care about Tony Pollard and the other guy, Ezekiel Elliott. I don't care about Blake Jarwin. None of this matters if the offensive line isn't healthy. And LeVar opened by saying, oh, Tyron Smith, probably not going to play in the preseason opener. Oh, okay, got it. Well, how's Zach Martin? Like, if the offensive line isn't there, none of this matters. None of it. I mean, you're probably going to have Washington steal the division because guess what? Their defense is incredible, and they are going to annihilate the Cowboys' offensive line if it isn't healthy. So we can get excited about Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb in the slot, and yeah, they're going to come back from being down 30-5, or 30-5 times, 30-6. But if the offensive line is not healthy, just forget about the Cowboys. Forget about the 11 wins. Forget about the division. And talk to me when we know the status of the offensive line.
Here's what I say. I'm going to take you guys into football 101 very quickly and break down why they can be an elite offense this year. Coach McCarthy has an ability, this amazing ability to be able to dial up plays that take advantage of what a defense is ultimately trying to do. Having the familiarity with his personnel now and them having familiarity with them, they are now going to be able to look at defenses and see what they're trying to do. If you find balance, and yes, you're right, it does all resonate from if your offensive line is ready to go, because in establishing balance, you're going to look at what the personnel and what the personality of the defense that you're going up against is trying to do. Some defenses love stacking the box with 4 men down. Some like using 3 and stacking it up with linebackers. Some even like bringing down a safety that can be the linebacker, an extra added body to stop the run. Their personality is to stop the run. So you'll see 9, 10-man, 8-man boxes that are loaded up heavy on the line of scrimmage. They are saying to you, we are here to stop your running game. So we're forcing you and daring you to throw. You have enough guys with your receiving core to be able to take advantage of if defenses are coming at you with a run-heavy scheme. Now, if you have a team that uses, like go from a single high safety to a two high, double safeties, where they're covering halves of the field and everybody else has quarters and they're covering those things, now you got backers that are going to take their hook drop zones or their buzzers. You have corners that are going to sink back. They're going to play from depth, and they're going to keep the offenses in front of you. That's now where you have to have the ability to get the ball to Ezekiel Elliott, and Ezekiel Elliott has to pull the defense forward to you in order for you to be able to now start to run intermediate to deep passes with your offense. Your offensive line can create those holes for you to be able to get into those gaps, and you can create some spacing where the defense isn't going to be